Here with us today is Waldemar Franco, a celebrated adventurer. He's an entrepreneur. He's a global explorer and author. He is all of that. Okay. And as the founder of the award-winning Rota Vento hotel brand, he has combined adventure, hospitality, and conscious design to create one-of-a-kind experiences. Since 1993, Valdemar has led expeditions around the world from kayaking and skiing to mountaineering and beyond, inspiring others to embrace exploration and purposeful living. Waldemar is the author of Find Your Wildflow, a guide designed to help men ages 40 to 65 reconnect with their strength, their mobility, their balance, and agility. And his goal is to help others to tap into their inner and physical strength to spark personal growth and transformation. And so in this episode today, Waldemar shares his remarkable journey, the transformative lessons from his book, and how shifting from routine to ritual can lead to lasting vitality and fulfillment. And so, how are you today, Valdemar?
I am very happy to be here. That is a great introduction, by the way. I couldn't have said it better myself, so thank you.
Well, we're just excited, right, Dee?
Yes, we are. Definitely.
We are excited. And so, um, today, let's start out by sharing your journey as an entrepreneur and adventurer and all of that, and how it has shaped your strength, your vitality, and personal growth, and your that philosophy that you have.
Yeah.
Baltimore, I just want to say one quick thing before you start on that. So I didn't know anything, and I kind of like that with our guests. I didn't know a lot about you when I got your book. Opened up your book and said, well, let me just start to learn about him. And so I just want to let you know that early on, getting into your book, so I didn't know what to expect. But I guess very early on in your book, you tell this story about how your daughter called you on the phone and somebody was supposed to go mountain hiking or something with her. And you just hopped out of bed and said, well, okay, I'm just going to go mountain hiking. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is not a couch potato. So he's not coming from a level of obesity and not fitness. So that's what got my attention, that you already, it seemed, had some level. This was early on. I mean, I got to know you more in your book, but I just thought that was an interesting story. Like, how many of us, our kids call us on the phone and say, can you just go mountain hiking with me tomorrow? No.
Yeah, that's a good story, very true. Um, I've been involved in training and taking care of myself, I guess, for a long time. I will rephrase that. In training hard for a very long time, eventually learned how to take my care of myself. So my story is I was born in Mexico City, and since I was really young, I was very attracted to the outdoors. I was always dreaming about being out there in the jungles or the forests or the mountains. My dad was a big seaman, so he used to go to the sea often. He was a captain, and he took me with him on many many trips in which I learned how to dive and spearfish my own fish since I was really young, like at 8, 10 years old. I was spearfishing my little red snappers and learning how to cook them. So that opened up a whole, like, world of for me inside this little kid's head in the opportunity there is out there to explore. I guess I grew up in Mexico City. I studied for 1 year in the US in a boarding school in Connecticut, and that's where I learned English correctly. Uh, and then as I got older, I went into college. I studied architecture, And as I was in college, I started getting heavily involved in guiding trips, outdoor trips. So I became a whitewater paddler, kayaker, and a mountaineer and skier, and eventually set up a small guiding operation with a friend, and as a hobby and to get some money to pay for my trips and just to meet people and be out there. Eventually, it became a little bigger business. And I built a rafting lodge, and that's how I got into the hospitality business. That became, the first of my hotels. And I guess my two passions came together: architecture, which I had studied, and then this outdoor lifestyle. And that's what the Rodavento brand is based upon. So that's kind of my a very quick story of where I come from and who I am.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting. And like we say again, kudos to you for all of those that like to do the mountaineering stuff and the biking. But I was telling Dr. D when we were talking about this show, I was saying that I have a brother that's a pilot, but every year, once a year, he and his homeboys, they go to Colombia and do the biking. He's an avid biker. He loves the hiking, the biking trails, and they do that for a week, and then they come back and do their regular boring jobs again.
That's great. I love that.
But he said that's what keeps him young. So it's good to hear that that's your philosophy, especially for a lot of our men.
Yeah, for me, being in contact with nature and moving in nature has been a great, I don't know, a great path. It just kind of it's something that I always, when I'm stressed or when I'm sad or whatever, I can always go back to that, and it recenters me and who I am. So yeah, it's been a good guiding light.
So, what inspired you to write this book? I mean, did you just kind of look around, as Dr. Vicki and I say all the time, and see how unhealthy we all are and obese, and and just throwing up our hands and going, okay, well, I'm not going to do this today? Was there something that triggered this book specifically?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I because of what I've done all my life, I've always been training, and trying to keep up and keep in shape because I was guiding people on the outdoors, and it's kind of expected for the guide to be strong and fast, right? So I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself to always, keep being strong. Um, I did train a lot. I had this method in which I set a goal for myself and I trained for that goal. Eventually, tried to accomplish the goal, be it a mountain or whatever. And then I came back home and I was just mentally exhausted, and my body was tired, and I had pulled a muscle, and I didn't want to hear about training anymore for a while. And then I got lazy, and then, guilt comes in, and you start saying, I need another goal because I'm getting lazy. And then I did this process again and got into this habit of pushing really hard.
Mhm.
Eventually, I I had a water skiing accident in which I injured my meniscus in my knee, shattered my meniscus, and that was like a very, I would say, devastating news for me because it was kind of my identity, right? Because the doctor said, most probably you won't be able climb a mountain or run correctly or ski or whatever for, for the rest of your life. So that was that was kind of really hard because of who I had become or who I had thought I had become.
Mm.
Um, I had labeled myself that.
Yes.
I don't know if you know what I mean, but
Yes.
so I then the pandemic hit.
Okay.
As you know, I think during the pandemic, everybody, each one of us, kind of something happened, something deep
Yes.
happened. We
Hmm.
all had a transformation one way or the other. Um, and I thought to myself, I need to, I started getting lazy during the pandemic. I got really stressed because I had to, save my business, and
You didn't
and
buy a Peloton bike like everybody else in the world did.
uh, and and I said to myself, I need to start training differently. I think I'd always approached um, being healthy from the outside in instead of the inside out, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I said, I need to start from within, not just setting a goal and going hard. I need to make a change deep inside me. So I started, reading and researching and hearing podcasts and getting back to some basics that I had learned when I was younger. I did some martial arts when I was younger. As I told you, I did quite a bit of free diving, which involves some kind of meditation. And I started putting all of that together and started developing a set of habits
Hmm.
that for me, so that I could transform my health, my aches and my body and my weight and my energy. And it started making sense, it started having results, it started making me happy. And I kept on doing it, and eventually I started sharing it with friends, my method. Uh, I did some sessions with friends and invited people to see what I was doing. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should share this. You should write it down and share it with people. I think this could benefit some people." So that's how the book. That was the motivation for the book. It
So
was
that's how it came about, huh?
totally. It was my way of coping with my situation,
Oh, wow.
and I wrote it down, and it made sense for some people.
Okay, then what do you mean when you say then find your wild flow? So what is wild flow? What does that mean?
I think Wildflow is it's understanding that we have a wild side,
Okay.
that we
Yes.
yeah, and it's nice to embrace that wild side. Uh, and I'm sure you know about the state of flow, right? In which some
Yes.
musicians or great athletes, or they get into the state in which you're so focused in what you're doing that you're totally mindful of that action. Uh, so that's why I named it, because when I'm doing my wild flow session, I try to be totally immersed in what I'm doing. I'm not listening to my headphones or thinking or watching the news while I'm running on a treadmill. I really want to be there with all my mind and my body, and because I think it just is better. It
Yes.
makes more sense, and it has better results than doing the same amount of. I honestly think that running for 20 minutes in the forest or a park without headphones, looking and listening to what's around you, compared to running the same amount of time on a treadmill watching CNN,
Hmm.
it's not the same.
Hmm. Yeah, I happen to agree with you. And there's a certain place when I go visit Columbus, Ohio, which from here is about maybe 2 to 3 hours. They have a outdoor park where you can walk around. They have different spaces, and it's just really nice. You see people out there maybe playing basketball over here. They have a big soccer, and you going around the perimeter and stuff. And the trees. So every time I go to Columbus, I get up in the morning and I just love that space. And I always tell my honey sweet, who's my husband, Dr. Doe, he's a nephrologist. I always tell him, I was like, look, Nate, we need to just take this spot here and just take it with us. So wherever we go, we can just get up in the morning and walk around and get that nature. But it's different, from being at home because I have a gym at home and getting on the treadmill and stuff. I have to really get my mind to do that because it is totally different. And you're correct. That nature makes a big difference.
I think it does. And I mean, we maybe not everyone has access to amazing outdoor spaces, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, we all have access to a little park
Yeah.
or a little drive to go to a nice piece of land.
Hmm.
And I think the effort is well worth it.
Yes,
It's
I
an
believe
interesting
so.
concept because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've gone to the park and if I don't have my earphones, I'm going to go all the way back home and get them because I have to have all this input. But as you say, that input is taking you away from just your body being free. If you're
Mm,
plugged into CNN or even some music or whatever, it's another input that's taking away from the freedom that you should be feeling out there walking or running or whatever you are choosing to do. So let me just ask you your concept of which I thought was interesting. So do you think that words matter? You changed things from routine to ritual. So do you think that words matter?
I do. And that came from again my own story. I used to set myself up with very hard training routines. And for me, routine is a word that kind of, symbolizes or is means something that you have to do every day. That's the same, it's very similar or the same. And it's kind of an obligation, it's your routine. Uh, and when you change that word for the word ritual, which is what I've done, for me, ritual is something that nourishes you, that makes you a better person, that feels good. Uh, so then I think that the whole concept of being able to keep moving and have the motivation to keep moving for not for 8 weeks, completing a physical program, but forever, till I'm 80.
yes.
I think it has to have a strong component of enjoyment, of joy. If
Hmm.
you don't get up and enjoy your daily workout, willpower is not enough. I think
Yeah.
willpower, when you're sad, when you had a bad day, when you're sick, it just fades.
Hmm.
But if you enjoy it, then there's another motivation that you can keep. You want to keep uh, going forever, right?
Hmm.
So the moment I change the word routine for the word ritual, I say I have my own ritual every single day. And that ritual involves movement and strength and mobility and acknowledging my body and my energy. And I can keep doing that every single day for the rest of my life, regardless of the severe of the of its if it's a hardcore exercise or a very very light one. As long as you're moving, I think that's the change.
Yes, I believe that too. And so reading your book. I enjoyed your book, and I like the illustration that was in the at the front of the book. I said, "Well, look at here. I think I'll open this book and see what it's all about." But I like the illustration that you had for the cover. But one of the things that I like to do before I even dove into a book, I like to look at the front of the book and all the different notes and things that the author had said for us to do. And I saw that you had um, bonuses and tools, that you have provided. So that we can get the most out of the book. And so I wanted you to explain that to folks, and especially if they're reading, what do you mean, and what are the kind of types of bonuses? I saw a lot of them and tools, and why did you think of providing that, and all of that? So tell us.
Uh, Thank you for the compliment on the book. I enjoyed writing it. It was a good deep
It's a good book.
process.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I wanted to communicate was, uh, I think it's kind of really hard on words to describe movement.
Mm,
It's
okay.
even boring for the reader, you know? Place your hand here and move this way. I think it's boring. So what I did is I wanted to show people what this movement looks like, what your body can achieve
Mm-hmm.
if you work at it, and it's a path. It's a progress. I align it with very many of the martial arts philosophies, in which, in order for you to become a master, it's a long path,
Yeah.
regardless of your talent or your athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
You have to embrace the path and work at it, and it's a lifelong path. Um, so that's what I wanted to communicate for people, with the bonuses and the illustrations and everything. I just wanted to say, I don't believe in quick fixes.
Right.
I don't believe in them. I think if somebody promises you, keep at this for 30 days and you will change forever.
I
uh,
know.
you
Yeah.
know, I don't really believe in that. But so that's why I did it, because I wanted people to get a taste of what I'm talking about.